You said we're going to do something to your brain.
Hello and welcome to Dead Air 25. This time we're talking about Vladimir Putin and Tucker Carlson's riveting interview. An old TV show, a new TV show, and some other stuff, I guess. What else is on there? The post office or something.
Yeah, Apple Vision Pro.
Oh yeah. Hi Christina, how are you
Hi,
doing?
good, how are you?
What would you like to start with?
Why don't we just get into that riveting interview?
Yeah.
Which I guess we just watched yesterday after the cringe video went up public, so that was...
So we watched it on Friday.
Yeah, yeah, Friday. You're watching this tomorrow. So that was a lot of fun, you know, you doing a whole video about cringe and then jumping into some serious cringe. At least I thought so.
Why did you think so?
Well, it was just bananas. Like, yes, straight away, Tucker Carlson doing his, like, please don't hit me, daddy, I'm a scared little girl voice.
Yeah.
And, yes.
Because he doesn't just do that when he's scared. He does that with everyone. That's how he makes people feel at ease.
Mm-hmm, sure. Yeah.
Like, if someone says anything, like, slightly, like, remotely funny, and he'll do that. That's his way of...
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Which,
Finesse.
did not...
Please.
He really did it at the beginning mostly, and then a couple bits here and there, but, you know, Vladimir Putin being a terrifying psychopath, he mostly just was quiet for most of it. I'll give it to him. He did make, actually, he made a couple of good points, and he did, like, try to bring him back to his question after getting a, 900 years of history lesson in answer to one question, and then he would keep asking it, and Putin did not give a shit what his question was.
No.
Or had no interest in answering it.
Or really who Tucker Carlson is.
Yeah. What did he say straight at the beginning, like, is this a talk show, or are we having a serious conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were bits where Tucker Carlson looked almost like he was laughing at Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
Or stifling a laugh. Mm-hmm.
Like when Grandpa is just going on and on. Like, let me tell you about what Russia's doing in Ukraine is completely appropriate. 2,000 years ago in the town of Bethlehem.
Yeah, it's like, Grandpa, it's Thanksgiving. Can you just...
Right. Okay, yeah, fine. I'll skip to the important part. It's 1492, 66. The fall of Constantinople.
You see, this
Storm clouds.
It began, we have to go back to when humans left Africa. This is very important to understanding what we're doing in Ukraine. Yeah.
That's why Serbs are important to us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously it was really, his purpose for making it was for a domestic audience. Mm-hmm. Vladimir Putin's.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson's purpose was, this is the biggest gig a journalist can have, really.
Yeah, totally.
Brilliant that it's him.
Yeah.
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 I wonder how the whole, like
Einstein, no, we'll pick the fucking clown.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I'd be curious about how the whole thing got set up. Like, was this Putin's idea? And he's like, get me Tucker Carlson? Yeah. It may as well be Alex Jones. Like,
yeah,
no, I don't want Dan. I don't want Dan Rather. You know.
Yeah.
No Anderson Cooper. Keep him away from me.
Maybe Dan Rather would have done it. Dan Rather draws the line at Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have done it.
Katie Couric.
Yeah, it was actually quite a boring interview, to be honest.
Yeah, the interview itself was, like, very boring.
Very boring.
Yeah, and part of that's just because there was no, are we going to have a conversation? There was no conversation. It's like 30 minutes of Putin talking about the history of Russia for, like, really no reason for a lot of it.
And it's all... Yeah, sorry.
And then Carlson, like, trying to ask a question, and then Putin just disregards and continues talking about whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, so he goes between... Like, when he's talking for the first half an hour about this is what Russian territory is, he goes from, like, the 13th century to the 17th century to the Novgorods, and it doesn't really make any sense. But then he starts talking about World War II and about how it was Poland's fault, and it's like not even worth like
trying to fact check it.
Not he was just
like what was the bit where he's talking about like Hitler asked nicely if they could have some of Poland and
about Danzig, Gdansk.
Right, yeah. Very weird.
He hasn't read the Tin Drum.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's historically kind of important that it happened, but yeah, the actual...
What, World War II? Nah. Footnote.
The actual interview, it's boring. There's really no interviewing going on. And to be fair to him, not Tucker's fault. He tried to ask some questions that were summarily ignored.
He could have tried harder. Like, I don't think... I mean, he was softballing him, right? Wasn't he?
He was, yeah. But, I mean, it's Putin, You're in Russia interviewing him. There's probably 100 dudes with guns just out of frame.
Yeah, but what? Tucker Carlson's going to be like, look, here's you talking, bang. How can these two things be true? And Vladimir Putin's going to be like, kill him.
Well, who knows? The next day, Tucker Carlson, he'd fall down the stairwell onto some bullets.
He's like in all these casts and everything, it was an accident.
Yes. It's on the American news, actually, Tucker Carlson survived his harrowing ordeal. He will be coming out of a coma any moment. And Putin's like... yeah.
Next time we see Tucker Carlson, he's just making... he's making wooden chips out of matchsticks, and that is all he's willing to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I'll never tell.
I don't know. I don't think there would be a threat like that. I think even if you did lick his ass, which Carlson did quite a bit, you're not going to get another one.
Yeah.
So why not go all in?
I guess my point is I can imagine it would be a frightening experience, even if you think there's no way anything would happen. He's a scary person. So I don't know, I'm just trying to give Tucker his credit where credit's due, because, I think it does take balls to go interview him at all, even if you think that there's no tangible danger. The guy's terrifying. I'm gonna interview him, just walk into the sea.
Yeah, I was really waiting to completely change my opinion about Tucker Carlson at the beginning when Putin was saying, oh yeah, you wanted to join the CIA, didn't you? I was waiting for Tucker Carlson to go, that's right, I didn't get in, but they did teach me a few things, and then shove his fingers up his nose and pull out what looks like a pen. And Vladimir Putin's what the fuck is that? And it's it's a plastic receiver.
Right.
And then just shoots him.
Or maybe just a handful of anthrax and just throwing it in his face. Or
I've been nibbling on this anthrax a little bit every day for the last 23 years. I'm immune.
Yeah, right.
But none of you are.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been washing his hair with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a little bit of anthrax. Yeah.
Fox die.
Now we don't know, do we? If they've done it right, the way to do it would be a little bit of concentrated, directionally aerosolized neurotoxin, which then when Putin dies in a month, how are they going to be it was Tucker Carlson? And what does he care? He's back in Langley, or wherever he's from.
Yeah.
Johol Beach.
What do you think security was like for
Minimal.
Tucker at the hotel? I mean, you don't think it was the Olympic stuff about... There's Russian dudes in the walls, taking notes about what everybody's doing, or...
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose with the Olympics too. What's there to take notes on?
Well, he's a crazy person, so I wouldn't put it past him. Yeah, I mean, what are there notes to put on? What could some Olympians know that's of value? I guess it's just the perspective of just in case, I have many men. Need things to do. You're much better at the accent than me.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. I didn't... yeah, I don't really get what Putin gains that much Because they're obviously feeding this stuff to the Russian people all the time, putting their own spin on it and choosing which bits to show. But they're in control of broadcast there, so why not just, you could have had him with fucking Elmo or something.
I'm not
the
sure.
same effect.
Yeah, what the goal really was either.
It's like, look, we can get one of your really famous American journalists over here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess ultimately, perhaps to try and put pressure on the American people, to put pressure on our government to stop funding Ukraine and the war. I guess that was probably the main goal, is to influence public opinion in America, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Or the main goal, at least, of having it be Tucker. Tucker.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, surely he picked somebody who had like the dumbest possible audience.
Tucker Carlson gets there and he sits down, pulls his mask off, and it's Jeremy Paxman. And he's really angry.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard Jeremy at first. I could have sworn you were going to go with Jeremy Irons.
It's Jeremy Irons. Yeah. For no reason, Jeremy Irons has just taken massive umbrage with this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I'm 70. This is how I'm going to go out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeremy Irons getting finally shot through Vladimir Putin's body. He's just... Because I imagine Jeremy Irons in this situation is like 7 feet tall, and Vladimir Putin's like a little rag doll.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
And Jeremy Irons has just got him like a couple of fingers up the arse and just,
Yeah. Who else could it have been? Taking the perfect mask.
Arnold, that'd been funny. And then like Tucker Carlson's little arms just...
Yeah. This is the sword that I used.
Conan sword.
And Conan, let me tell you about Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Reagan.
Reagan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else? Gary Sinise. Listen, let me tell you something.
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
That's the answer to anything in terms of who could it have been instead of who it was. Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito crushes Vladimir Putin to death, screaming, "Catch the watermelon!"
Yeah. Try and grab it.
Yeah. So it briefly looks to his like completely baffled guards that it's like an accident, but they quickly realise he's pummeling him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Putin looked well, didn't he?
Did he?
Fairly well.
Yeah.
He's looked a bit puffy recently.
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of rumors, haven't there, about his health for a while.
So a phrase he used a couple of times was golden billion.
Yeah.
And look this up, and it's a prominent sort of Russian conspiracy theory about the top billion in terms of the world.
Like world population? Okay.
Essentially, more or less controlling the world's economy and keeping developing nations poor, so they will have both continued access to cheap manpower on demand and dumping grounds for all their toxic waste. And
Okay.
I read this to myself, knowing it was a Russian conspiracy theory, and I thought, well, that is what's happening.
I mean, you're just kind of talking about the West there, right?
Yeah.
Like all of Europe and North and South America is probably 1 billion.
But it's not really the golden billion, is it? It's probably like the golden 100 families.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I remember him saying that phrase a couple of times. And what the fuck's he talking about? Yeah. So, that was interesting.
Yeah, but I guess the most interesting thing was the idea that they are deliberately keeping nations poor. Because that has been something that has come up a lot of times in my travels, of people saying that.
Okay. I mean, what do I know? But I don't know if there's any deliberately keeping people poor, just taking advantage,
Yeah. But then what would the advantage be of, bringing a new player to the table?
Well, I think the problem is, like, when you look at, with that argument, is that there's always more places to go Do you know what I mean? Like the Mariana Islands, you know, the Jack Abramoff story. How they took like severe advantage of Marianas Islands. People would work for like $1 an hour, put people in indentured servitude, you know, having them like in debt for the privilege of working. And when all of that eventually kind of ran dry, they just left and went somewhere else.
Yeah, but he Putin there, and the theory, as I understand it, is not about that. It's about long-term, real politic.
See, I think, again, what do I know? But I think maybe he's given a little too much credit in terms of long-term thinking over here. Because I don't see a whole lot of long-term planning.
No, it's not like it's not like a conspiracy of like people meeting in back rooms like it's the X-Files. It's just an extension of European colonial imperialism.
Right, okay. Gotcha.
You know, just like, you know, the French, Belgians, British, Germans weren't huddled around in the 1850s being like, we're going to absolutely divide Africa like this. And what we'll do especially is in the centre, Leopold, you're going to have some right fun. No, it's way more macro than that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, right. I don't know, but what else you got to say about that? About Putin interview?
There was a thing reported in Newsweek about like European Union mulls banning Tucker Carlson from travelling. It was bullshit. There was one MEP who said we should do that.
Right.
Out of hundreds. I mean, you know.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny how those things work, huh?
It'd be like
probably like thousands of people repeated that like it were fact after like seeing the headline.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Like it's like saying, oh yeah, did you know the United States is mulling going full on socialist? Oh, they are. This guy called Bernie Sanders said something like that.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
But would they be justified? I mean, pointless, really.
Yeah.
Would they be justified?
In what, sorry?
Banning Tucker Carlson, travel banning.
I mean, without reading more into it, I mean, I don't know. I would say no. That wouldn't be justified. I mean, what the hell is he gonna do?
Well, just punish it.
Punishment, I see. Right. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, pointless.
Yeah.
You know, just I mean, what Tucker Carlson is and has been for a long time is, you know, one of the many, many toffee apples, candy apples, of people who just attract flies.
Sure.
You know, and if you're someone who's interested in catching flies, very useful.
I see what you're saying.
Just like Steve Bannon. Like actually, yeah, Steve Bannon terrible, but actually he's quite a useful idiot in a way.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you know, he's on TV, talking about the elite want you to blah blah. Blah. Like you're the elite. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I mean, Tucker. I mean, it's like one of his favorite things to talk about. The elites want you to do this, which I'm pretty sure is meant to be some kind of dog whistle.
You think that's anti-Semitic?
I don't think that specifically. I think that what he means to say is everybody that you don't like, who I will not name here, but it's who you in your head personally do not like. You know, you don't like Democrats. You don't like liberals. You don't like, Bill Gates.
Yeah, sure.
Them. It's just another way of saying them.
Yeah.
And you fill in the blank yourself so you can get mad and keep watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how that could be useful.
Yeah, but I didn't mean that. I mean, yeah, obviously. I'm talking about, like, okay, if you're going to go to Russia and interview Vladimir Putin, who really America is in a proxy war with right now, then that is an intelligence matter, which obviously supersedes legality, certainly morality, and you're going to attract a lot of people, some smart, some not, who are treasonous or foreign assets or whatever. So, like, it's way easier, like, just listening to Tucker Carlson's phone than all of theirs, is what I'm trying to say broadly.
I get what you're saying.
They're magnets. I'm not saying they're magnets for, like, I'm not saying, like, you know, deeply embedded, highly skilled KGB guy is going to be like, oh yeah, I'll go talk to him. But a lot of, like, you know, like General Flynn type idiots will, and, you know, Tucker Carlson isn't going to live another day in his life where he is not being monitored continuously now by at least one nation. I imagine, you know, due diligence. You're just going to listen to everything he says. It's easy. You just harvest all his digital shit up all the time. And, yeah, if he wants to, you know, go down this route where he's rubbing shoulders with tyrants and traitors, well, great. Because now I know where to listen.
I get what you're saying.
Same with Steve Bannon. I'm convinced that the reason he was knocking around for ages and not just done with was the same reason.
Right. Okay.
You
That's
know,
an interesting thought.
it's like, instead of like, oh, we've got the bad guy's phone number, guess what, guys? We've got the bad guy's voicemail messages, sort of thing.
Right. I got you.
I'm trying to be a bit vague here. I'm talking about extrajudicial activity.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Right, well, yeah, I mean, anything else to say about that? I mean, would you recommend people watch the interview?
Honestly, unless you are, like, really interested, like, even if you're just interested in the Ukraine war, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
Nothing really to gain. Vladimir Putin is a very boring arsehole.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I mean, if you're, like, going to play a fun video game or something and just listen to it in the background, which is what we did, maybe. Because that on its own was just, like, there was a lot of sighing, I know, on our part. Like, we get it, everyone in Ukraine's a Nazi. I get that's what you're trying to say, you know. That was, like, the last half hour, it felt like, was him just going on about we're trying to get rid of the neo-Nazis. Like, okay. Mr. We kill people put people in jail for being gay or having opinions. Yeah. Anywho. What a twat Putin is. I mean, Tucker too, but Putin.
Oh, yeah?
An order of magnitude more.
Definitely decided that now.
Yeah. I think it was pretty clear to begin with, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that video of... I don't know if it's even worth bringing up, where... God. Maybe it's not worth bringing up, but it was like... Russian, like, government meeting where there's, like, some dude, like, kind of... I cannot remember what he was talking about, like, to Putin. Like, disagreeing with him. You know what I'm talking about? Disagreeing about something. The dude's, like, shaking, like, and Putin just, like, looks at him and is like... I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you can just tell, like, this is a person who terrifies people into getting whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, and I imagine most of those dudes probably had, like, grandfathers during... Now, I keep getting it mixed up. The Red Terror, the Great Terror. The Red Terror was the one right after the revolution, I think. The Great Terror was Stalin's thing. Stalin went crazy. He was going through people, like people around him. Like, he was setting up agencies to purge other agencies and then purging that agency. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, all those people around Putin probably are old enough to have had relatives, like, in that, and I bet it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I bet they're terrified of him. Just, come on, Dmitry, take the shot.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah. Well, I mean, I got nothing else on that, do you? Would you like to briefly talk about Apple Vision Pro that just came out?
Sure. Well, I have one, so,
Yeah.
It looks cool.
Does it? The only thing that I saw really...
Yeah.
The day after its release was, like, a bunch of pictures of, like, people and like videos shared from throughout the interwebs of people driving while wearing one. When
Yes.
Apple specifically says do not drive while wearing them. Yeah. Like, fucking of course. Immediately. Yeah. What? I mean, I could look this up, of course. I didn't bother, but what's it for? What's the point?
Well, okay, I've looked at that a lot.
Yeah, you have. Okay.
Yeah, I've read
Good.
several
inform me.
reviews about it. Well, okay, in its defense, I suppose, people are saying, they, not unlike the iPhone, they haven't quite found the use for it yet. It's more a first-gen thing where developers will yada, yada, yada.
Okay. But
We'll find a use for it because it's got such great tech in it.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I understand that. I think that the problem perhaps with that reasoning is that the iPhone, I mean really just smartphones generally, like automatically have an inbuilt value. Like it's a computer you can carry around in the palm of your hand.
Well, this
Maybe
is what you do, you can carry around on your face.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, silly me.
Better than no computer.
Yeah, and how much do they cost?
$3,500. Dollary dues.
So 3 good computers worth, yeah.
Well, three good computers worth or 1 really good computer's worth.
Yeah.
It's three 8 out of 10s or 1 8.5 out of 10.
That's probably accurate, yes.
Yeah.
Or about 6 3 out of 10s.
That you can't play shit on. It takes
Yeah.
5 minutes to load up Solitaire.
Word processing machine. Yeah.
Yeah. And even then, yeah.
It gets a bit finicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That netbook I had would take 5 minutes to load up Word.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean? Well, I'm not trying to sound like a troglodyte or anything.
A Luddite.
I don't really, yeah, or Luddite. I don't really get it. I mean, I bet that there could be useful purposes. You know, maybe if you're like an engineer who does like, well, no, but then I mean, there's AutoCAD. Do you really need to see it in 3D? I don't know.
This is what I think is going to happen. Is there'll always, there'll be people who have it and play games on it, and or not even that, just like to use its options to have like a screen over there that they can watch something on, and right over here, and I think that's kind of a waste of time, but there will be people who like that and get value out of it.
Yeah, enjoy.
But I bet you anything that Apple makes most of its money from what?
Nothing. I'm just waiting to see if you're going to say what I think you're going to say.
What do you think I'm going to say?
No, you tell me first, and then I'll tell you what I thought.
From government contracts.
Oh, I see.
What are you going to say?
Porn.
From porn?
Yeah. 3D.
Why are we going to say that?
It just seems like the natural use of a more advanced computer technology that fits on your face so people can, I don't know,
watch porn.
3D porn.
But that already exists.
Yeah. I mean, with VR headsets it does. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, there's like VR, like 360 porn.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
Where you can
things.
spit in the actor's face. No, government contracts whereby they'll sell them by the thousands and thousands to. Yeah, like you were saying, like I could totally see how with the right software this could be really useful for engineers, things like that. Like, if you could get an overlay where, oh wow, I can see through the drywall, I can see where all the pipes are.
Okay.
Stuff like that. There are so many uses for law enforcement. You could just be sitting in a cruiser and just looking at people and seeing who they are through recognition and.
Okay, I think I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
like reading license plate numbers for you.
Reading license plates, reading faces, reading heart rate.
Yeah. Okay.
Can
you read heart rate from just visually?
Not yet, but very soon.
Okay.
Because if it can monitor things like vibration, soon we'll be able to tell, like, oh, that person over there, they've just had sex. I can tell from the heart rate, and
okay.
Yeah, they've still got the condom on.
Yeah, right. For some reason, I just was thinking like law enforcement usage, and I just think Minority Report, like with a totally useless like screen of And I'll move things around and
Well,
just watch it.
we've had the technology for ages to track absolutely everyone and see where they go, and maybe not identify them, but put an identifier on them, so that when they come back. So the next step really is emotion, tracking emotion, and then you can start combining that with what they end up doing and building a huge data set of, observed behavior, observed and documented behavior.
Okay.
And then we'll get to
The pure dystopia.
Sir,
Yeah.
come with me. Why is that? You haven't done anything wrong, but you're looking a bit sad. And as you know, it's illegal to commit suicide.
And because you live in this neighborhood and you're looking sad, that tells me you're a danger.
Excuse me while I just play this music. Get in the back of the van! Get in the back! Yeah.
All right.
That's when we're at dystopia. I thought we've been at dystopia since like 1940.
Oh, but it can always get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it will.
Down here we all float.
Okay.
I think there's
All right.
loads of like serious applications, but not applications for
the regular consumer.
Yeah.
Necessarily. Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, you convinced me that yes, there are. I mean, I guess that was really my question. Is like, why would your average jerk off spend a car's worth of money?
For a better than average jerk off.
For, I mean, basically just Google Glass, but covers your whole ocular region. You know. Yeah, I mean, clearly it does. I mean, people are buying it, so, must be. I mean, the very little that I read about it was like, you can like watch a movie, but instead of watching it on your TV, you can have it projected to be like this big, like filling your entire vision. I'm like, why the fuck would I want that?
Turn your head away from it if you want.
Yeah. But again, why? I can turn my head right now away from the TV. I don't know. Maybe I'm just becoming an old lady. I don't understand these things they're doing with the technology.
Yeah. Well, so do you think it's a gimmick?
No, I mean, I think that, I can see how there could be, like, perfectly valid, like, highly specialized uses for it. But in order for even, like, I'd like to say, even for, like, police departments to, adopt that there has to be enough mass adoption to, drive the price down slowly on those, like, base models, like with the iPhone. If you wanted to buy an iPhone 1, probably wouldn't be able to use it, but you could get one for, like, $50 easy. Versus the new ones that are still, like, ridiculous. So, I mean, I would think that you would need enough regular consumers to buy in order to make it feasible for, obviously not like the government, or the military or whatever. They got money. But for like even smaller police departments or like even like private businesses, I'm thinking about like engineering. If those are things that can still easily be done with a different technology, I don't see it getting adopted for like a while. But maybe that's part of the goal. Maybe it's designed as a loss leader for like future versions to become profitable. I don't know.
Well, when we went to the DMV, everything they had was on iPads. Right?
No, I mean, when I was there, the iPad was I signed on it and filled out some stuff, just like they've had forever, but...
All the people in the back taking their test was on an iPad.
Yeah,
so eventually you could get to a place where you can do like a hazard test or an intermediary test just on one of those. Or you could theoretically have one of those on a designated course where you're driving around and that's actually quite safe, but then it has overlaid hazards. You see what I'm saying? So like, this is how to do an emergency stop. If someone jumps out on you, someone is going to jump out on you, but don't worry, it's Qbert.
Alright, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the DMV that we went to recently just got new computer programs and had to shut down for 2 weeks to install them, so I think that's probably a long ways out too.
Yeah, well, I heard it's because they had trouble getting dry ice for the for the service.
What?
In the basement. I don't know, I'm just imagining like their new computers is like this massive AI underneath this tiny little DMV building.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like GLaDOS down there.
Yeah. I can
Controlling.
process over 14 calculations a minute.
You owe $12 for...
Hang on, no. $12, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess that, like, my criticism of it isn't so much, like, what it is. It's more just, like, I don't know, more waste, I suppose.
Yeah.
More shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's the purpose, is to make money for Apple.
Product, yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's just the how, that in-between point of, equals profit that I'm just not totally understanding right now. But like I say, maybe this is on a 20-year plan. 20 years from now, we'll start making money. These will be cheap enough that everybody will have one. Maybe.
I think that, like you said, it's about getting that next product, and I don't know if Apple does feel like that, but I think they think it's probably worth the risk. Because if it doesn't play out and it sort of dies off like Google Glass,
I was about to say, yeah.
they won't have lost the company.
Yeah,
but if they get it right,
I get what you're saying, yeah. And I suppose that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Google Glass was like the most embarrassing shit ever, from what I recall.
I never saw...
And yeah, people just forgot about it and moved on.
Yeah.
So, fair enough.
I think bizarrely, it would be way more appealing. It would be way more appealing to me if it was just like, yeah, there's no like hardware. You just get like a little disc put in your temple, and you can just like do it in your brain. So it becomes more invasive, but at the same time way more convenient. I think that'll be the...
Yeah, I mean...
I'm not saying I would do that, but I could see the appeal of doing that.
Wake me up when we get the Matrix needles that just plug into my brain and I can learn German overnight. I'll take it.
Why?
Like learning machine. I think that's,
Oh no, before we get to that, we're going to do collective consciousness anyway. If we can do that, transport, then there's not going to be a reason to learn anything. Because everyone will understand. Because everyone will be Omar.
Right. Yeah.
No?
Yeah, maybe.
Before we get to, I can learn the piano and then take that out of my brain and put it into yours. If we can get to that point, someone's just going to be like, I'm just going to plug everyone in. And then it really is going to be like, oh God, they're not trapped in here with me. I'm trapped in here with them. All of them.
We're all trapped together. Yeah. Yeah, and oh look, now we've accidentally created God.
Just like Voltaire wanted.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. Anything else to say about?
Deus Ex is a good game. No, go on.
I mean, that video you showed me just the other day was hilarious. Was it somebody like driving by a traffic stop, and it's like a cop, like writing a ticket out, and there's a dude just like. Wearing the glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's really that, isn't it? It's really the glasses. It's not so much like what they can do and can't do. It's just that you have to wear them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so next we've got a post office thing, which is quite old news now because we've not been here for 2 weeks. Essentially, as I understand it, what happened in Britain was the Royal Mail used to use a computer system made by Fujitsu that was actually bugged from the very beginning, and from something like 1990 to 2015 there have been something like 900 convictions for sub-postmasters, i.e. people running the mail shop, people running the post office, who would come up short and then get sent to prison for stealing money. It turns out that at least 90 of them, who've since had their convictions overturned, never stole any money. It was a bug in the post office accounting system that was known about from the beginning by Fujitsu. So
somebody's gonna get a lawsuit.
Somebody's gonna get an email. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
mentioned you want to talk about something to do with the post office, and I didn't know what it was. I just wrote down post office thing. That is pretty awful.
Yeah, that was kind of it, and I kind of wanted to mention it because I was a postman once for like laughing at me like a week, like a week when I was about I think 18 actually. I'm pretty sure it was my first actual job, like with a pay stub, and I was employed for like I suppose the surge before Christmas or something, and like
Right.
if you're good you'll stay on sort of thing.
Right. Temporary hiring.
And I quit. It was just terrible. I quit because I was paid from something like 7 until 12:30, but I wasn't finishing until like 5 or 5:30.
Right. I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
And they were saying like, well, don't worry, you can get part-time,
Overtime.
And so it's not just that. Like, I'm a student. Like I've got shit to do.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't trying to get a full-time job from this, and it was so badly run. When they introduced, like we had 1 day orientation, and all they did was teach you how to pick up a box with your knees, and we had this woman from upstairs, the offices, who was just clueless, and all I remember her telling us was that like yes. Out of all of our competitors, we are the least technologically advanced. But it's okay, though, because we have the best people. That sort of shit.
Right, okay.
It was a shambles. And at the time, as well, when I was doing it, there were a series of post office strikes. So, like, one of the first things was, like, I got the job on, like, Saturday, and they were having a strike on Tuesday. And, like, the first thing, just on one day, Tuesday, and the first thing they said was, like, are you in the strike? And I was like, well, what's it about? And they were like, oh, it's about this and this, and like, you know, you do whatever you want, but just so you know, if you don't come with us on the strike, people here won't talk to you. Yeah.
Right.
And there was one guy, they called Roland the Rat. I don't even know what his name was, but he was obviously a scab, and they did not fucking like him. It was really weird.
Right. Okay.
Like, especially to an 18-year-old who didn't really understand what was going on.
Yeah, sure. Sounds like a load of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and as well, I would have to, like, sort my own post before taking it out. Yeah. And get there at, like, 7, and most people would be done at, like, 8:15, 8:30, and the, like, car left at like 9, so the idea would be that you'd take a bag with you, deliver all them, and then go and pick up your next bag from somewhere that the car would deliver. But he wouldn't wait if you went past like 9, and I was like getting it done at like 10 or 11, and someone came up to me and said like, don't worry, completely normal, it'll be like this for the first 2 years.
Right.
Like, so what you're saying then is it's like actually a really skilled job that you want to pay me like £8, not even £8 an hour for, more like £4 an hour when you count in overtime, because there's no guarantee I was going to get that. Oh man, it was a fucking shit show.
So you worked overtime, but you didn't end up getting paid for it?
I didn't even ask for it. I just quit.
Yeah,
I was there for like 3 days on my own. I shadowed someone for a bit before, and it was just like it wasn't really like I wasn't getting paid. It was just like this was meant to be like 5 hours, 4 days a week or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, jobs.
And then, so yeah, I was probably there for more than a week, but definitely not as a independent postman. But I don't know what I got paid. I got paid like £200 for it, and they kept paying me every week.
Oh, right, yeah. I remember you telling me this, yeah.
And I fucking phoned them up. God, this is all coming back to me now. Phoned them up. Again, I'm 18. I'm, clueless. Phoned them up and told them, and they're like, right, okay, well, we'll get on it. Phoned them again. I had to phone them 3 times. They'd been paying me for something like 13, 14 weeks by the time they got on it. And they just sent me a letter saying, give us this money back in 2 weeks, or we're going to send it to a debt collector. And the money they wanted, this isn't the exact money, but it was like the entirety of the money, including the overpaid money that they'd ever paid me, was like £1,400, and they wanted like $2,000 back, like more than I'd ever been paid, even the stuff I was meant to be paid for.
Yeah.
And they would not listen, like about this. They just would not listen.
So what'd you do? Like send it to the debt collector? Go ahead.
No. What was it? I explained this to my dad, who's like, was like the sort of person who was like, well, you just call them. And then my dad, like, obviously became convinced, like, okay, so I see you have called them, all right. And then he looked at my pay stub and immediately went, what the fuck? And he called them, because he used to do the accounts for where he worked. So he knew all about, like, the pay numbers, like the type of pay. He called them, and I have no idea what they said. But yeah, in 5 minutes, he was like, yep, they're going to redo their figures. Because he said that the thing didn't make any sense. Whatever it is, like not the barcode, but you know what I mean, like the tax code or whatever. He said that doesn't...
Right. Okay.
It's like not... He said something like, this isn't even the wrong tax code. This tax code doesn't exist. Something like that.
Right. I mean, you have to wonder how much shit like that happens all the time. But people who just don't know, you know...
Yeah.
Wouldn't be able to, you know, because they're an 18-year-old
I was lucky,
kid,
huh?
wouldn't be able to look at that and say, like, you're citing, like, a code that doesn't exist, you know? Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah. And he only knew that because he was familiar with, I mean, not just accounting, but specifically payroll accounting.
Yeah.
You see? So.
Yeah, I get you. Man, a lot of jobs love to take advantage of young kids who don't know shit, you know? And, yeah, I mean, I don't really have any similar stories.
What about when you ruled Taco Bell like a queen with an iron fist?
That's your idea of what happened, not at all. No, it fucking was not. No.
Okay. What?
What? What do you want me to say? No, that's not what was happening, no. No, I mean, that place was awful, though. All the time, they would have people... Like, you can't be clocked in past, like, 1 a.m., right? Or 3 a.m. on Friday or Saturday. It was
Christine used to manage a Taco Bell.
Yeah. I started there the day of my 16th birthday, like 8:30 in the morning.
Cool.
And worked there for like a year or 2 years before I became a shift manager and got a whole... 20 cents per hour raise for that.
So you were shift manager, you weren't store manager?
Yeah, I was shift manager.
Okay, right.
Just I would be the manager who was there. I worked the night shift, so, you know, if you had a problem between 5 p.m. and midnight or like 2 a.m. or something on the weekends, you were talking to me.
If you have a problem at 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. on the weekends, and if no one else can help, and if you can find her, maybe you can hire Christina.
Yeah. No, but, like, yeah, they, there was all kinds of crazy shit there. Like, here's a bit of advice for you. Don't ever put in extra effort at a job, because they'll just take advantage of that and find ways to make you do that and pay you less. Because, yeah, I mean, all the time, it'd be like, nobody's allowed to get overtime. So, say you get to whenever the weekend is, like Friday, it's midnight, and you guys still have to clean the entire store, because you're open, you have to clock out and work anyway, you know. Very illegal, but I was 17, 18, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and otherwise, yeah, I mean, God, I worked at a Goodwill for a bit when I just went back to college, and I'd told the hiring manager, like, I'm in college full-time, I cannot work more than 20 hours a week to start. You know, maybe I can, like, put in some extra time later, but, you know, it's got to be 20 hours a week. Okay, no problem. First week on the job, 50 hours scheduled. And that was the first week of school. And then being, like, really frustrated that I quit, like 2 months later. Because it was, like, 50 hours every single week. At, like, $8 an hour or something.
Wow.
Jobs, you know, and young people, you know.
Yeah.
Taking advantage.
Yeah.
People that don't know any better yet. I know better now.
Yeah.
Not doing shit.
That's why we're unemployable.
That's why we're unemployable, yes. Yo, you wanna keep the restaurant open with no running water. You don't think there's a problem with, the mountain of shit in the toilets when customers go to the bathroom and they can't wash their hands. People are going to notice. We know, Christina. God. Yeah.
Not a team player.
Are you aware that it's illegal for you to be open with no water in the restaurant? We know. Okay, as long as you know. Everybody heard that, right?
Just record everything.
Yeah. Jobs. Trying to think what else. I worked at Meijer for a bit. You guys probably don't have that. It's like kind of like a Walmart or a Target kind of store. I actually don't see very many of them around anymore, but I'm sure they're out there. That hired me for night stalking. So,
night stalking?
Not that kind of stalking. Like taking things out of boxes and putting them on the shelf, stalking the place.
Yeah.
Hired me, said they were going to pay me $9 an hour, got my first paycheck. It was $7.35 an hour. My bad for not, for assuming that an adult would tell like an 18 or 19-year-old the truth. Yeah.
So they just lied to you?
Yeah. I just quit. I worked there for like 2 weeks. I got my first paycheck and I was out.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
What else are you going to lie about,
Yeah.
Pretty basic.
Yeah.
And that was another one of those places where it's like big department stores especially. If you go back to the break rooms, there's just like posters everywhere talking about why you don't need a union to steal your money. Just hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everywhere Damien's worked, they've always done that, where it's like they're meant to pay him X, but it's actually slightly less. Mm-hmm. And then they'll be like, but with this, it is, yeah.
Oh, but we'll pay you more later. Oh, that's how it starts. We'll get you there to $8 an hour.
Well, just no budget this year. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Well, so
anyway.
We've had our moan.
Yeah. Got our little requisite tangent moan in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Still eat Taco Bell?
No, not since I quit, no.
Yeah. I had one once.
Yeah. Oh yeah, with you and Trace, yeah. Yeah. Last time that I've looked at it, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, this shit is expensive now. For like a little baby taco with 1.5 ounces of meat, like a third of a portion of meat, like $1.99. They were 79 cents when I worked there. That was, I guess it was 20 years ago. But still.
You're not breaking any rules, are you, by saying that they were using grade E meat?
No, you can probably find that out yourself. Unless they've changed it, but... No, I mean, all the time, if it was like a slow night, I'm like, I'm going to go back and read every single ingredient on these boxes for my own...
Grade E?
Morbid curiosity. Yeah, it's like dog food quality meat, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, alright.
Load of shit, yeah.
Okay.
I can make tacos at home that are way better.
What's next?
Right, so we watched some Scrubs recently.
Yes, quite a lot of Scrubs.
That, Peacock, I think we had a trial, which I think I just got a notification is about to end. So we should finish up with the Scrubs. So we kind of got into the shit point anyway.
The turn, yeah, well and truly.
The turn, yeah. Really. But those first few seasons were really funny.
What's Scrubs?
It's a show about young, like fresh out of school doctors that are interning at a hospital, Sacred Heart. You've got JD.
It's a sitcom.
It's a sitcom. Yeah, that takes place in a hospital. I mean, you got Turk is a surgeon. JD is a medical doctor. Elliot, medical doctor. And they get into various shenanigans. And the earlier seasons were actually, like, funnier than I remembered. Because I used to watch it on Comedy Central. I believe it was on NBC at first. And then Comedy Central, like, picked it up. And had never watched it, like, in order. You know what I mean? Just whatever was on. It's back in my day, you had 4 channels to watch. And yeah, it was actually like funnier than I remember it being, with some actual like things to say sprinkled in here and there. The number of times that the doctors choose to defraud health insurance companies in order to get someone medical care they otherwise wouldn't have received and would have died. Yeah, that was kind of fresh when it came out, talking about that stuff, as I recall. I don't know, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I liked it way more than I remembered. Because again, yeah, same thing. Like it would be on TV all the time, you know, out of order in between, you know, an episode of Friends and the OC. I really like it, but I really don't like the moments in it that are sort of reflective. There's always at least one.
Or it gets a bit saccharine and...
It gets very saccharine and it's like I'm watching the OC all of a sudden and I just don't think it needs that. And like I get it, like, and it's sweet, you know, it's not the worst thing, but you could have done that with humor as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, especially because they usually occur like at the end of an episode, and it's like you might as well just turn it off when you get to that, because, yeah, you know, I get it, JD. I just want to be loved. And like, yeah, I get it. Go back to, you know, Kelso making jokes and
Kelso's the best.
Turk dancing and
Yeah, I thought, you know, but when it is funny, it's funny. You know, the whole Dr. Toilet thing, which is quite late on, season 6 or 7. That's funny.
Yeah, but it does, like, basically after JD's
baby
girlfriend gets pregnant is where it really takes a downhill turn. There's still funny moments, but it I mean, I think it kind of succumbed to what a lot of sitcoms do, where it's a lot funnier when your characters, like, are stuck in their kind of situation and aren't, like, learning and growing and doing things
and they're
necessarily.
losers.
Yeah.
Really, rather than...
Yeah. You know, the whole bit where JD's talking about, like, we make no money as interns.
So we
you know,
steal.
So, yeah, you can take on a second job at the clinic, you know, or you can steal stuff. And he's, like, rolling, like, pallets of toilet paper out of the out of the closets. I'm like, I identify with that, you know.
Yeah.
A lot more fun than when they're, like, much better set up later, you know. And yeah, it's like, I don't give a shit about JD has a baby and, oh, I really miss my girlfriend who got pregnant. And they spent like 5 episodes, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, should we have this baby or not? I'm like, I don't care. This is a comedy.
She miscarries at one point.
Did she? Yeah, I kind of stopped paying attention after that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely feel like my characters that I remembered liking the first time watching it versus revisiting it, like, have changed.
Yeah.
You know, I remember, like, Dr. Cox was, like, the funny one that you really like, and he's kind of a dick.
Oh, Dr. Cox is my least favourite.
Yeah. Who's your favourite?
Maybe Nurse Tuckleton.
Yeah, Carla.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or, no, yeah, I like Carla and Kelso. It's definitely my favourite.
And the janitor, of course, yeah. But
yeah, you see, with him, I think he's a good character, but, like, there's too much of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he does have kind of only, like...
Yeah.
The one joke, you know, harassing JD. Yeah. Yeah, Turk's my favorite, personally. I don't know why. He's just very funny. I think Donald Faison's, like, super funny. And, like, anything I've seen him in. He was hilarious and Clueless and, you know.
Yeah.
Haven't seen him in forever, but he was really good in it, I thought.
Yeah, and I, like, don't even look at the screen when Jordan's on.
Jordan's my least favorite, yeah. I get it. She's a bitch.
Do you remember when Dr. Cox and Jordan were date raped in that
Yes.
episode? What the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that? Yeah, they get drugged and then, like, pass out, and these people that they were having dinner with are like, all right, let's go. Like, what the shit happened
Yeah,
there?
we never heard anything about it.
Yeah, there's some dark moments that are funny. Yeah. But, yeah. I don't know if I have a whole lot to say. Just, it was interesting revisiting it. And it's still pretty funny up until about season 5.
Yeah. I'm not Superman. Alright, well, yeah, I don't really have anything to say about that either. I liked it way more than I remembered, and yeah, I'd give it a go. I mean, kind of like any comedy for a bit.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I could really go back to Cheers, though. That one was just tedious.
Yeah, I never really got into Cheers.
Yeah. God, I wonder what Happy Days is like now.
Yeah. I know, sometimes you're just, like, curious. Like, yeah. And I mean, a lot of that kind of stuff, it can depend on how you felt about it at the time. Not necessarily even in a nostalgia kind of way, but in some ways, like, I know you're not interested, but I keep seeing like the Brady Bunch, the original, popping up and thinking like, I'm just revisit that, but that's a trip, you know.
Yeah.
Just
I don't think I've ever seen it.
yeah. I mean, I guess you guys may not have had it, but yeah.
What about Little House on the Prairie?
I used to watch some of that when I was a little kid, like very young. I barely remember it. I think my mom read all the books from Laura Ingalls Wilder, so it was one of those things that would be on, you know.
Yeah.
But I can't remember much about it.
Shady Pines, ma.
Yeah. And yeah. Well, should we move on? All right. We've also been watching True Detective Season 4, which only has 6 episodes, and I guess the 5th one is probably up.
Yeah.
It's supposed to come out yesterday, yeah, Friday. So, only one more to go. So I guess I should say when we started that, you know, like, as I understood it, that each season is like its own story. They're not interconnected, really. So I was like, yeah, let's check out the 4th one. Just, you know, it's new. Jodie Foster, sure.
And you'd never seen any of them before?
I'd never seen any of them, no. When the first season came out, I just started grad school and, like, never watched TV. Unless it was just, like, background noise while I'm crying over a paper, you know, or whatever. So I just never got around to it. So we watched, like, the first 3 of season 4. And then we're like, okay, let's revisit the first one. So we just watched all of the first season and just finished the second one as well. So that was interesting for me, having never watched any of it, and just, you know, knowing like the bare minimum of what it's about. But it was weird starting with 4 because we were watching it, and I remember at some point in the first episode, I turned to you and I was like, so True Detective is like a supernatural thing? And you were like, no, it isn't. What is this? People just talking to ghosts and seeing ghosts in the most stupid, like, classic, like, jump scare, you know. I think the last one that we watched, there was a bit where, like, lady turns and there's a ghost with, you know, spooky white face paint going, ah! And it was like, this is so lame. So it was really interesting to have that as a point of comparison and then go back and watch the first one, which was pretty great. And it's interesting that, you know, it's been 10 years now since that first season. And yeah, what do you have to say about it at all?
Keep on going, yeah.
Yeah, well, and having finished the second season now, which was not great, you know, I think I just kept reflecting on that first season, like what made it good. I think, number one, it's super atmospheric. It has this, like, tone, like with the color grading and like these big, wide shots of like really great looking locations where you've got these like rich green grass and then these gray cloudy skies, and it's not CGI'd in, I'm pretty sure. You know, it looks like they were there that day and recording that stuff.
They waited for that train to go by before someone went action, yeah.
Yeah, waited for the magic hour of lighting to do it, and all the people were on set, you know, not green screened in. And then, so the atmosphere, number one, the music's great, and the fact that, I think the biggest thing to me is just Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey together are, like, dripping with charisma. You know, like, they're good actors, but lots of people are, you know, can act good, but not have that, like, quality about them.
Yeah.
You know, that unnameable, like, hard to identify thing, you know, having that sparkle. And then the two of them together, doing some really solid acting, are pretty great. I really think that that's one of the big drawing points of that. And then comparing that to, like, season 2, I thought Vince Vaughn did a good job. And as you said, he's probably just acting like himself. I personally cannot stand Vince Vaughn. He was pretty good in it. Rachel McAdams is fine, but she's got, like, no personality. Or maybe it's just the roles that she's been in. I don't know. But it's like if you want, like, bland white lady, you hire Rachel McAdams. And Colin Farrell is charismatic, but, you know, Taylor Kitsch is not, in my opinion. And you just don't. And then when you start adding more characters as well, you don't have that focus. Like, everything in that first season of True Detective in some way or other, was about Russ and Marty and their characters and their personal growth or not growth. Their
Rust.
journey. Rust, yes.
Not rustled.
Rustin.
Rustin.
There's a ladybug. Yeah, so, and then compare that to now season 4, where, like, the only person on screen with, like, presence is Jodie Foster. And the characters are not interesting, and there's, like, 100 million of them, it feels like. And there's, like, no focus on the actual case. Like, I'm struggling. Some people died in some ice, and then...
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was thinking about, like, you know, in the first season where you'll have, like, Rust and Marty talking to, like, their supervisor at the police station. Wouldn't have you loved it more if then, instead of the two of them leave and go pursue their case, we do a little aside for, like, 15 minutes where that random unnamed cop goes home and is having trouble with his wife, and we get to hear about it for, like, a long time, and it's completely irrelevant to anything that's happening. Wouldn't that have been so much better?
No, and what they should take that to the full extreme, and then have them fighting, and then have that unnamed cop's wife, like, drive off, and she goes to her sister's, and then the next day we follow her sister go to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You know, super unfocused. That's what people want. And...
Well, why is it like that?
Well, should I reveal the little thing that I discovered and didn't know about how this was made?
Oh, yeah. Well, you mean that it's not actually
it was,
Nick Pizzolatto?
More importantly, the showrunner for this, her name's, like, Issy, like, Lopez, I think, pitched this to HBO as its own short series. Mm-hmm. It was meant to be its own thing. And then HBO came up with the idea, let's make it True Detective, and then sprinkle in some references to True Detective in ways that make absolutely zero sense whatsoever. That's the problem. It was designed to be its own thing. That's why you have these supernatural elements that don't make any goddamn sense in this universe. That's why you have, you know, let's have, like, a mention of that, like, church-run school, you know, that played a role in the first season. That is, now here in Alaska, and that makes no sense. Let's mention Russ' dad, who used to live in Alaska, you know, takes place in Alaska. Yeah, we'll just make a mention of him.
Lone Star.
Using Lone Star, yeah. Like that was Russ' beer, you know. It makes sense that he's drinking, like, it makes sense. And he's from Texas. That's his beer. No, just put it in here. No, this is what people, it's almost like certain, like, big companies don't know exactly why we like the things that they make, and then try to reproduce them in the dumbest possible way. Lone Star, that's what people liked about True Detective Season 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's because, you know, it's inevitably because, well, not inevitably, but it's because you've got different people, so it's like, I guess the executives would know, like, we need to have references. Mm. And then the people you've employed aren't the original people. Mm-hmm. They don't really have any connection with the original story. The story doesn't even have any connection with the story. So then, oh, okay, so I've been ordered to put in references. What the hell could they be?
Yeah. Of course it wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, that's how I see it. That's a really difficult ask for, a story that has nothing to do with the first one. Putting that spiral symbol in, that was the like satanic killer guy from the first one.
The Carcosa thing.
Yeah, down in Louisiana. So why is that here?
Well, I don't know. We haven't seen
Easter
the last
eggs.
episode yet.
Do you suspect that there's going to be a reason for that's going to make sense?
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be like a big dramatic showdown where, like, Jodie Foster, like, cannot believe, like, no, I live in a serious reality. That is not the thing. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be like this blah, 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 monster. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're going to have, like, a shootout with it at the end. It's going to almost kill her. And then at the end, she's going to be like, right, I see who you really are. And she pulls the mask off, and it's Christopher Eccleston. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Sure.
And then Will Ferrell in a suit is going to walk in, surrounded by snow, and he's going to go, you thought it was supernatural, didn't you? Scum. You're scum. Okay. Yeah. And then he's going to spit.
And then cut to black to the credits, and then there's a post-credit sequence. Jodie Foster gets a big birthday present delivered to her house, and she opens the lid, and Matthew McConaughey jumps out and goes, "All right, all right, all right."
And then smacks
Matthew
her with
McConaughey
a
will
fish.
return. Yes. Yeah, I kind of hate it.
Yeah. Why did you hate the first 5 minutes of it?
Oh my god, it has the worst CGI caribou.
Not the worst.
And then the worst for like what's supposed to be, you know.
No, they're not the worst, because if they were like really abstract, like Toy Story 1 caribou, it would be like an artistic choice. Then, you know what I mean? Like we've made these things look wild and weird, rather than here where they've tried to make them look like caribou and they just can't.
Yeah, it just looks awful. And then you'd think that'd be the end of it. No, we're gonna bring back more CGI bad-looking animals. That polar bear, that's like something out of Planet Zoo.
It should have had an eye patch on it, shouldn't it?
Right, yeah.
Deep
Yeah.
polar bear.
And to be fair, if this had been released, I think, as just an irrelevant to True Detective show, I wouldn't have liked it. But it wouldn't have pissed me off so much, knowing that it was kind of sullying the True Detective Season 1 name, you know. Which, again, I just watched. I don't have a long, attachment to that at all. I was just like, this is pretty good.
And you didn't like Season 2?
No, I didn't hate it like I do Season 4. It just was a bit dull to me. That's all.
Yeah. I think I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting the sense, I guess maybe we'll start Season 3 today or tomorrow or something. Because there might be something coming in the future about True Detective changing over time, if we feel like it. Yeah, you're down with that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think there's stuff to talk about there. So we'll see.
So right now, I should say then that I saw True Detective Season 1 pretty much when it came out. Season 2, maybe a year or two after it came out. And then I never saw Season 3. I still haven't seen it. And then this is the first time I've gone back.
For Season 2.
And I feel pretty similar to how I felt at the time.
Okay.
I think, like I was saying to you, I think that when True Detective Season 1, when I first saw it, I thought, like, wow, this is like the best TV I've seen.
Yeah, 2014, you know.
And I kind of still feel that, but for different reasons. And I guess the reasons are that, like, I think that, like you said, it really hinges on the charisma. I think it's generally very well written in terms of its dialogue and its character, but the idea is really cliched. And, you know, one cop is a loner and he's an outsider, but he's a genius. The other cop is a bit of an alcoholic and a philanderer, and he has a complicated past. It's very cliched.
And I would say that it really borders on being pretentious.
Oh yeah, I mean, borders.
I think
wades right in there.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't go over the line for me, where I feel that it's too much. It fits with the atmosphere, with the color grading, with the intense portrayals. These two main characters. It's right on that line, but it fits with everything else.
Also, and maybe as well that's changed, modified by Rust is a bit pretentious.
Yeah, it's his character.
Not his, not like the way he's written is pretentious, but like he as a person.
Yes, totally.
You know.
And that fits with, like, that makes sense. That's his character. Yeah, totally.
But yeah, so I still really like it, but now I can see that, like, it's a bit more cliched than maybe I first thought, and but it's all really well handled, and I guess I appreciate it for that, and more so now that it does not waste my time.
Yes.
Because I seem to remember when it came out, I was like, whoa, 8 hours? Well, wow, that's a long time. It's going to have to be really good then. And now,
where
if I see 8 hours, I'll be like, oh, wow, I'm surprised it's not 50.
All right, so there's going to be 6 hours of fluff here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that everything that happens is in service of the two characters and in service of the mystery. I do think that I wish there was a little bit more at the end in terms of learning more about the bad guy and, like, why they're doing what they're doing, but it still works.
Just another episode of
I could have done with another episode.
Rust
yeah.
and Marty hitting
Court case.
Tuttle Tower.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be full bananas mode by then, right? I mean...
That's how you want every movie to end. Then they go on a rampage. Killing spree.
Yeah.
Incineration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have used a little bit more. But I can also kind of see how they
That was my
wanted
biggest
to end
problem with
it on-
Wonka.
No
Yeah.
killing spree?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I mean...
I mean, you can't tell me Gene Wilder's Wonka... Gene Wilder's Wonka. That's not what he was preparing for, right?
Yeah.
Like, he was like, you know, trying to create his own kingdom there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kingdom made out of,
Bones.
Grandpa can't move from bed or work for 50 years until he gets a free pass to a chocolate factory. Yeah, that world needed crushing.
I think that was his position, right? Why Wonka the Revolutionary?
Yeah. And I guess, I don't think that first season was like a straight up masterpiece. It wasn't perfection. You know, I could come up with some, you know, little things where I'm like, but overall, it was pretty damn good. Yeah, and this new one is absolute garbage. In my opinion.
Yeah, I think I would... I don't know if I'd say absolute garbage, but I also... With the second one, like, I wouldn't say I really like the second one. I definitely like bits of it. I definitely like moments, and there are times when it's tense.
Same,
and it kind of bogs down a bit and gets, for me, a bit boring. But I was never frustrated, like, in the fourth one, where it's just...
I know. When that polar bear first showed up, and then it shows up again, and we're both like, oh my god! Just why? You know? Why do that?
Oh, yeah, and I think we also decided, like, when one of the people who wakes up from the ice comes back, I said, he'll have 90 seconds of stuff to say, but he'll only be alive for 60.
He said he'll have 120 seconds of things to say and only 60 seconds to live. Yeah. It's like, yep, he'll wake up and say absolutely nothing useful.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. Is it going to be that, or is he going to say something in Russian or something? And they're not going to understand, and then they're going to be like, "Shit, what did he say? What did he say?" And then they're going to translate it, and it'll be like, "She is back, the mother of the night," some shit like that.
Night mother.
I mean, if it was that, that'd be great. Yeah. Turns out the killer is Cicero.
Yeah.
Have you seen this bastard?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that first season, it was just 8 hours of it, but it was tight on its story and on its characters. And I feel like we've barely scratched into this investigation. In the fourth one, it's just all filler garbage of, and then Jodie Foster's daughter, well, I don't care. The young cop whose name I cannot remember, we get a whole bunch of scenes with him and his wife. I don't care. Well, what about that cop's dad, whose name you can't... I don't give a shit. Tell me about the people frozen in ice.
Yeah.
If it was just like Jodie Foster and the other lady, and they were like partners, and it was really focused on them and the investigation, then we could get to know them and care. But instead, everybody is a caricature, you know.
Like it was Schindler's List, but it's all about Schindler's relationship with his pet schnauzer.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah, alright. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Give it a good hate watch.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of season 1, I wouldn't even bother. It's not even worth it to, like, be, like, fun baffled at, you know, or for the fun of, like, hating on it. I think it's just dull and frustrating.
Yeah, but we haven't seen the last episode, so who knows? Next week we could be like, ooh, it makes perfect sense now.
You're wrong. I don't think it's going to get better.
Turns out it was like Memento and,
it was told backwards.
It's all backwards.
Backwards, yeah. Anything else about that?
No?
Cool.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Shout
Shout-outs.
to Darren.
Darren from Dublin. Thank you so much for the bean. That's so kind of you. It's very much appreciated. And same with Jareth it's in Ireland. Ratoath. What does that say?
County Meath. From County Meath.
County
yeah.
Meath.
Right.
Jareth and Darren. Thank you guys for
it's
the
not even,
beans.
it's not even a
Yeah.
complicated... No, yeah, well, anyway.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Really
thank you so
appreciate that.
much. Say Leicestershire.
Leicestershire.
Say Worcester sauce.
Worcester sauce.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire land, anyway.
Or
Alright, yeah, thank
Worcestershire.
you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you guys very much, definitely.
Yeah. Yep, so we'll be back probably next week, unless we don't have anything to talk about, and then we won't be. As always, you can follow us or follow me on Twitter. I'm still on Twitter. I don't do anything on it. What's happening with Blue Sky?
Yeah, we'll get on that, yeah. I know.
The Facebook, and
Yeah, all that.
you can support us on Patreon, PayPal.
Yep.
You don't owe a shit, but it's much appreciated.
Yep. Any beans appreciated, very much so.
Any beans appreciated. I'll have a swimming pool full of beans one day.
A room full of beans.
A room full of beans.
That you can dive into, like that duck.
And then you'd have to have like a specially built like shower unit, wouldn't you, to get them all down the drain afterwards. That's the main things. Imagine how embarrassed you'd be. You go for a swim in your bean pool, and then later that night you've got a ball dancing with Mr. Joffrey.
I don't think you're going to be able to swim in beans at all.
And
But go ahead.
then you realise, oh shit, I've still got a bean trapped between my butt cheeks and on my gooch. That's gross. And then what do? Do you go down there and pick it out? Or do you...
You pick it out with a spoon made of beans. Everything in your house is made of beans.
It's like beans with toothpicks all the way through. And the walls are like traditional Japanese walls. Like, not paper, but beans. You get really pissed off, you can just punch your way through.
Bean paper.
So it's bean paper, so you can see like beautiful geishas behind them, the silhouettes wearing kimonos made of beans. Doing whatever, getting some bean soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a bowl made of beans. Or just one really big bean that's been hollowed out.
One really big bean, yeah. Why has nobody never thought of that? Beans are so small. You gotta eat so many of them. Why doesn't somebody breed one big bean so you only have to eat one?
Breed it as well. That's the mother bean right there.
The mother bean.
Yeah, but then I suppose if you were going to have all beans, would you be able to dig bean with bean? You'd have to dry some beans out, and there's got to be like a pygmy group out there somewhere in like a remote part of the Congo who are like, yes, the hardest thing they have access to isn't wood. The wood around here is very soft. The hardest thing is bean. Bean is the most precious thing in the
Beaniverse.
pygmy bean peoples. So they use it as currency. The Beaniverse.
Anything else? Bean, 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 bean.
No, not really. I'm thinking. No, that's it. All right, thank you very much for watching. Beans.
Okay. Beans.